Sci-fi horror is one of my all-time favorite genres of media. Last year's Alien Romulus is one of my favorite movies in recent memory. Really, the entire Alien franchise is one I'm pretty invested in. I had a good bit of fun with Earth recently, and I'm eagerly awaiting the Romulus sequel that's apparently in development. Halo 2 is easily in my top 5 games of all time, and while it's not explicitly horror per se, there's definitely elements of that present. I would actually argue the horror elements in Halo are particularly effective because they're so unexpected. There's plenty of other examples, but you get the idea. Take some science, some fiction, add a little bit of horror, and you've got my attention. Mouthwashing is a game that caught my eye when it came out almost exactly a year ago, and I've been meaning to play it ever since, but I just never got around to it for whatever reason. For October, I wanted to cover a horror game since there's a certain holiday coming up, and my original plan was actually Amnesia, but a friend recommended Mouthwashing. I remembered how interested I was in it, so here we are. I know virtually nothing about this game except that there's a spaceship, and I would assume mouthwash. Oh, and also that song. I've somehow managed to go this far without spoilers, so I don't really know what to expect. I do know there are some pretty interesting achievements, so I'm hoping to have some fun with this. Also, this game is only like 2 hours long. There's no way I'm able to talk about it without getting into spoilers. Here's your spoiler warning. I feel like this is a game best experienced blind, so if you're planning on playing the game, go do that now. Otherwise, here we go. The game follows the crew of a transport ship working for this thing to deliver some unknown cargo. It's mouthwash! The game opens with this scene where you crash a ship before some trippy stuff happens in the hallway. The rest of the game revolves around this event, with present scenes dealing with the aftermath and flashbacks building up the days preceding it, all while presenting this mystery of what actually happened and why. After the crash, the crew is stranded with limited supplies as they await a rescue that will likely never come. The horror of this game is pretty interesting, as nothing really happens. It's more about a bunch of people sitting around and being sad while they await the inevitable. Very existential stuff. Anything spooky is purely metaphorical, with there being more and more hallucinations as the characters' mental states deteriorate. Now, the ending was pretty satisfying to me. The majority of the flashback sections have you playing as the captain, Curly, while the present-day sections have you play as his co-pilot, Jimmy. The story initially frames Curly as the villain, and all of the flashbacks have you watching to see what caused this shift in character, because he seems like a really chill guy. It's revealed towards the end that Jimmy was the one responsible the entire time. The rest of the crew gets killed off one by one through various unfortunate events, and the game ends with Jimmy finally coming to terms with everything through this weird mind trip thing before sending Curly into cryosleep to be rescued in the future as the sole survivor. The twist was kind of predictable, to be honest. At the beginning of the game I was confused for sure, but as the reveal drew closer it became pretty clear what they were going for. I still enjoyed it, however, and I liked the ending itself a lot, with the whole cryo thing. It all felt very fitting for the story presented. One last spark of hope in a hopeless scenario. My favorite part of this game is by far the atmosphere. The PS1 graphics are a really fun artistic choice, and the camera filter reminds me a lot of Lethal Company. The music was great too, and I loved the transitions. Needless to say, they absolutely nailed it stylistically. Now I need to talk about the horse segment for a bit. On the one hand, this was the only time during the entire game where I was genuinely spooked. I mean, this thing is freaky as hell, just look at it. As for gameplay, however, this section is straight butt. I don't know what they were cooking. Also, the trippy mind stuff at the end didn't really click with me for some reason. I usually love this kind of thing. Bloober Team does it all the time, but this just didn't really grab my attention the same way it usually does, and I couldn't tell you why. The graveyard was awesome though, I loved that part. I do appreciate the role it serves in the story, however. I interpreted it as Jimmy completely breaking down and actually processing what he did to each character before finally taking responsibility for his mistakes, as the game repeats to you so many times. The hallucination route was definitely the right direction to take with the horror here, allowing the actual events of the game to stay very grounded. I love everything about this segment conceptually. I honestly don't know why it didn't have more of an impact on me, and I really wish it had. This first playthrough was very light on achievements. I went in completely blind because I got the impression that this is a game best experienced knowing as little as possible beforehand, so I didn't check any achievement descriptions. Starting the story gave me one, finishing the game gave me one, and at some point in the middle I got one for trying to use mouthwash. That was it for this first run, leaving me with 15 more to go. Now for the fun part. Before we do anything else, I'd like to first introduce the dev console. This game has built-in cheats which you can open by pressing tilde, giving me another achievement. This is how I went after the rest of the achievements. You can enable a handful of cheats, which will be helpful for one achievement in particular, but you can also skip around to each chapter, which is very useful for getting to each achievement quickly without having to sit through the whole story again. The closest things to a collectible here are the employee cards. Each character has an employee card you have to find. There's only 5, and the first one, Anya's, can be found in the opening segment when you crash. Sock Puppet is for opening Curly's mouth repeatedly, which I did as early as possible, but I believe you can get it at any point in the game. One of the early game plot points involves getting into the cargo stores to search for supplies, which is when they discover the mouthwash. There's a whole process of uncovering a code, but the code doesn't change, so if you put it in without going through that process, there's another achievement, Cheater. I got Yimpy for staring at this guy, and then immediately after there's another random Easter egg achievement, this time for finding Curly behind a TV. Partway through the game, you're tasked with making a cake. You get free roam of the materials, and it's up to you to do what it says, and on my first playthrough I assumed there would be an achievement for making something else here. I assumed correctly. Making a mocktail gave me wasteful. 2 more ID cards back to back after this, those being Daisuke and Swansea. Now this next one is by far the most interesting achievement. You have to use the dev console to glitch a 35-second speedrun of the horse section for any percent glitched. This was the most fun I had with this game. The strategy I found was to start from the previous chapter, skip it with a hotkey, skip all the dialogue with another hotkey, then clip through the floor and let yourself fall a few times before flying straight across to the mouthwash bottle, like so. This took a handful of tries, but it wasn't too bad, and is hands down one of the most interesting achievements I've done in a while. Entering the final stretch here, we've got 2 more employee cards, Jimmy and Curly, and that finishes those off. Then there's another achievement similar to the cargo one from earlier, this time for opening the gun safe without going to the cockpit. This one is interesting because you don't necessarily need prior game knowledge for it. You can find the code earlier on at any point when you're in the cockpit, hence the achievement name Taking Notes. My last 2 achievements were obtained from the graveyard duel. There's one for doing a 360 trick shot on Swansea, which was actually really annoying to figure out, but I like this one a lot because it kind of fits the retro vibe. And then to finish off, the last achievement I got was the good ending, literally for just letting Swansea kill me 10 times. In hindsight, I probably should have waited for the 360. It would have made a far cooler finale, but oh well. All in all, this was an interesting one. Did the game meet my expectations? Honestly, not really, but I don't think that's a bad thing. When I saw sci-fi and knew what Curly looked like, I was subconsciously thinking something akin to Dead Space. Some freaky stuff happens, and now you've got a fleshy abomination hunting you down. While I would have enjoyed that story, I'm so glad this one exists instead. This is a story about people first and foremost, their flaws and mistakes and how they deal with them. It's a different kind of horror, a more realistic one, and I appreciate the unique approach. It was definitely a worthwhile experience, and I don't regret my time with it. All, like, 4 hours of it. This game is really, really short. W game, I had fun. I'm gonna go drink some mouthwash or something now. I'll see you on the next one.